Ladies and gentlemen, let me start by telling you something that might just change the trajectory of your life. You are not poor because of what's in your pocket. You are poor because of what's in your programming. You see, the human mind is the most powerful factory ever created. It produces results based on what you program into it. If you input limitation, you output lack. If you input wealth, abundance, and divine purpose, you output prosperity, peace, and progress. So the first key is this: the first step to programming yourself to be rich begins with understanding that your mind is the factory of your future. Every thought, every belief, and every mental picture you hold becomes raw material in the construction of your destiny. You cannot create a wealthy life with a poverty program running in your subconscious. The world you experience on the outside is nothing more than a reflection of what you have accepted as truth on the inside. You don't see life the way it is. You see it the way you are. If your inner dialogue is full of scarcity, fear, and limitation, then no matter how many opportunities appear, you will find a way to sabotage or shrink them down to fit your inner blueprint. But if your mind is saturated with thoughts of possibility, expansion, and divine abundance, then even the smallest opportunity becomes a seed that grows into a forest of prosperity. See, your mind doesn't care what you plant in it. It's like soil. It will return whatever you sow. If you plant doubt, it will grow weeds of insecurity. If you plant belief, it will produce fruit of confidence and courage. The problem for most people isn't that they can't succeed, it's that they've been programmed to fail. From childhood, they've been told that money doesn't grow on trees, that rich people are greedy, that good people struggle, that success is only for the lucky few. Those ideas became codes in the subconscious mind, and those codes run silently in the background, shaping every decision, every emotion, every habit. The first job of anyone who wants to be rich is not to chase money, but to rewrite the code. You must reprogram your thinking until wealth becomes your default setting. Every result in your life is a receipt of what you've been believing. If your finances are small, it's not because the world is unfair. It's because your thinking is. You've been operating on a system of limitation when you were created for expansion. The same brain that can invent excuses can invent income. The same imagination that worries about bills can visualize abundance. The mind doesn't know the difference between a truth and a lie. It only knows what you tell it repeatedly. If you keep saying can't, your mind will find proof. If you keep saying I can, it will find possibilities. Wealth begins the moment you decide to change the internal conversation. To program yourself to be rich, you must take control of the information you feed your mind. The news, social media gossip, and complaints are all data streams that shape your reality. Garbage in, garbage out. If you want a prosperous life, you have to start feeding your brain prosperous input. Read books that stretch your faith and imagination. Listen to mentors who speak increase, not limitation. Spend time with people who talk about ideas and opportunities, not drama and defeat. Your environment is part of your programming. And if you stay in a toxic environment long enough, you'll start believing the lies it whispers. The only antidote is to build a mental firewall that blocks out doubt and downloads truth. Every thought is a seed, and repetition is how it takes root. You can't think a positive thought once and expect permanent change. You must rehearse success until it becomes automatic. When you first start reprogramming your mind, it will feel uncomfortable because your old beliefs will fight to survive. But repetition creates familiarity, and familiarity becomes reality. You'll know your programming has shifted when what once felt impossible now feels inevitable. The more you train your mind to see abundance, the more abundance will reveal itself. It's not magic, it's alignment. The people who become rich are not necessarily smarter, luckier, or more talented. They've simply learned how to think in harmony with wealth. They've trained their minds to see opportunities others overlook, to believe in outcomes others doubt, to persist where others quit. They've mastered the inner conversation. You can hand two people the same opportunity, and one will turn it into gold while the other turns it into dust. The difference isn't in the opportunity, it's in the programming. You can start today. Every time you catch yourself thinking small, stop and upgrade the thought. Replace I can't afford it with how can I afford it? Replace I'm not ready with I'm being prepared. Replace that's too much with that's just a new level for me. Your mind listens to you, and what you say becomes the software that drives your actions. It's not about positive thinking, it's about powerful thinking. Positive thinking makes you feel good, but powerful thinking makes you do good. It builds momentum. It activates creativity. It makes you magnetic to resources and relationships that align with your purpose. When your mind becomes the factory of faith, ideas, and discipline, wealth becomes the natural byproduct. Your income can never exceed your identity. So if you want to increase your income, you must first expand your identity. You can't out-earn your self-image. You can't hold more in your hand than you believe you deserve in your heart. The mind sets the thermostat for your financial life, and you will always return to the level you're programmed for. When you upgrade the software of your mind, your external circumstances start catching up with your new internal code. Opportunities appear where there used to be obstacles. Solutions reveal themselves where there used to be stress, and you begin to move from surviving to thriving, not because the world changed, because your programming did. You can't have $1 million harvest with a minimum wage seed, and that truth applies to every area of life: finances, relationships, business, and personal growth. Too many people want a big outcome with a small input. They want prosperity without sacrifice, success without sweat, and abundance without investment. But the universe doesn't work like that. The law of sowing and reaping is absolute. You always reap what you sow, later than you sow and greater than you sow. The question is never whether the harvest will come. The question is what kind of seed you've been planting. If your effort is inconsistent, your harvest will be inconsistent. If your belief is shallow, your blessings will be shallow. You can't expect exponential results from occasional effort. Every act, every thought, every dollar you invest in your growth is a seed. The size of your seed determines the scale of your harvest. Some people pray for abundance while refusing to develop the capacity to handle it. They want the fruit but avoid the farming. You can't just wish for more, you have to prepare for more. Preparation is proof that you believe in the promise. If you say you want to be wealthy but never invest in your education, your skills, or your business, you are contradicting your own desire. The soil of success responds to faith and action, not lip service and excuses. A farmer never expects a field to produce without planting, watering, and tending the soil. Yet many people expect their lives to grow while doing the bare minimum. They complain that they're not getting opportunities, but the truth is they're not creating value. Life doesn't pay you for your time, it pays you for your contribution. You can't sow laziness and reap legacy. You can't plant procrastination and expect promotion. The people who seem to get ahead aren't luckier. They're planting bigger, better seeds. They're investing more effort, more faith, more consistency, more courage. And when the harvest comes, it's not a surprise, it's a result. If you want to live on a higher level, you've got to start thinking like a farmer who plans for a massive crop. That means sowing with intention. Every morning you wake up, ask yourself, what am I planting today? Am I planting thoughts of possibility or thoughts of limitation? Am I investing in my mind, my business, my relationships, or am I coasting on yesterday's effort? Wealthy people understand that the size of their future is determined by the size of their seed today. They give more, learn more, and serve more because they know the return is multiplied. The danger of a minimum wage mindset is that it teaches you to do just enough to get by. It whispers, don't give too much, don't risk too much. Don't dream too big. But the person who thinks small will always live small. Minimum effort produces minimum results. If you want extraordinary outcomes, you must embrace extraordinary commitment. The bigger your dream, the deeper your roots must go. It's easy to wish for success. It's harder to water your seed every day when the ground looks barren. But that's where the wealthy mindset separates itself. The rich don't stop sowing just because they can't see results yet. They understand that harvests take time. When you give your best effort, even when no one's watching, you're sowing integrity. When you serve people with excellence, even when they can't pay you back, you're sowing favor. When you stay consistent after everyone else quits, you're sowing discipline. And those invisible seeds grow into visible rewards. The universe has a way of paying back those who plant with faith and persistence. You also have to understand that your seed isn't just money. It's time, talent, energy, and attitude. Every time you show up with enthusiasm, you're planting. Every time you learn something new, you're planting. Every time you take a risk in faith, you're planting. The problem is most people are stingy with their seed. They're so afraid of losing what little they have that they never give enough to create increase. But the soil of success doesn't respond to fear, it responds to faith. When you sow with expectation, you activate multiplication. Imagine a farmer who only plants one seed because he's afraid of running out. He might feel safe for a moment, but he'll be hungry when harvest season comes. The same is true for those who hold back in life. Playing small doesn't protect you, it limits you. Every great success story started with someone willing to sow beyond their comfort zone. The more you invest in your own development, the more valuable you become. And the world always pays top dollar for value. When you elevate the quality of your seed, everything else follows. That means improving your habits, your standards, and your level of excellence. Mediocrity is expensive. It costs you opportunities, influence, and growth. Excellence pays dividends that compound over time. You can't just do the minimum and expect maximum blessings. The soil doesn't lie. It always gives back in proportion to what you've given it. Most people look at someone else's harvest and feel envy, but what they should be asking is, what kind of seeds did that person plant? Behind every visible success is a long season of invisible sowing. You have to be willing to plant when no one notices, work when no one claps, and invest when no one believes. The harvest doesn't come to the loudest, it comes to the most consistent. So if your goal is $1 million life, you've got to sow $1 million effort, $1 million faith, and $1 million discipline. You've got to give more than what feels safe and believe more than what feels possible. Because in the end, your harvest is not determined by what you hope for. It's determined by what you sow for. Your words create the world you live in, And the moment you understand that, everything about your life begins to change. Every word that comes out of your mouth is a seed, and those seeds don't disappear. They grow roots in the soil of your subconscious mind and produce fruit in your circumstances. The power of life and death is in the tongue, and most people are dying by their own dialogue. They talk themselves out of blessings, out of opportunities, and out of breakthroughs without even realizing it. Every time you say, I can't, you instruct your mind to stop trying. Every time you say, that's too hard, you train your brain to retreat from challenges. But every time you say, I can handle it, you awaken the strength that was already inside you. Words are not just sounds, they are codes. You are the programmer, and your speech is the language that writes your destiny. The truth is you are living today in the world your words built yesterday. The way you talk shapes the way you think, and the way you think shapes the way you act. People who constantly speak lack and limitation live in a cycle of shortage because their speech reinforces scarcity. Those who speak abundance, possibility, and growth live in expansion because their words align with increase. You can't speak defeat all week and expect victory on the weekend. Your tongue is steering your life like a rudder on a ship, turning your direction toward the words you repeat most often. If you want to know where you're headed, just listen to yourself talk. The challenge is that most people speak without awareness. They think they're describing reality, but in truth, they're creating it. When you say, money is hard to make, you're not stating a fact, you're setting a limit. When you say, good things never happen to me, you're not reporting the news, you're programming your future. The subconscious mind doesn't argue. It obeys. It takes every word you speak as an instruction and goes to work manifesting it. So if you say, I'm broke, your mind starts filtering opportunities through that belief. You'll overlook the ideas and people that could elevate you because your language told your mind to expect lack. That's why changing your vocabulary is one of the fastest ways to change your life. Successful people are careful with their words because they understand the creative power of speech. They speak as if their words are commands to the universe, and in a sense they are. When they talk about their goals, they speak in present tense, I am achieving, not I hope to achieve. They don't talk about failure as final. They describe it as feedback. They don't complain about problems. They declare solutions. Every word they say pulls their mind toward action, while the average person's words push them toward apathy. When your mouth and your mission move in the same direction, manifestation becomes natural. Your words also set the tone for the people around you. Every time you speak, you create an atmosphere. When you speak faith, you inspire courage. When you speak gratitude, you attract favor. When you speak doubt, you drain energy from everyone within earshot. Your vocabulary is like a thermostat. It sets the emotional climate of your environment. If you constantly talk about stress, fear, and frustration, you'll live in tension. If you consistently talk about peace, joy, and prosperity, you'll find yourself surrounded by opportunities that match that vibration. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you speak with conviction. You must learn to make your mouth your greatest asset, not your worst liability. That means you can no longer afford casual complaining, careless criticism, or self-deprecating humor. Every word carries weight, and words you speak in jest can still create consequences. Say something long enough, even as a joke, and your subconscious will start to believe it. That's why you must discipline your speech the same way an athlete disciplines their body. Every sentence should align with your goals. Every declaration should agree with your destiny. The way you talk about money, success, and opportunity determines how they show up in your life. If you say, money doesn't matter, it will leave you. If you say, I'm not good with money, your mind will stop learning how to manage it. But if you start saying, money is a tool I use to make a difference, you open yourself to wealth with purpose. Your words create either a wall or a welcome sign for abundance. Speak as if you already possess the things you desire, not to fool yourself, but to train yourself. Your subconscious doesn't distinguish between imagination and reality. It simply responds to repetition and emotion. So the more you speak in alignment with your goals, the more your behavior follows suit. You can tell when a person is programmed for prosperity by listening to their language. They talk possibility, not problems. They say next time instead of never again. They describe challenges as lessons, not losses. That's not delusion. That's design. They are consciously constructing a vocabulary that supports their vision. They speak words of increase, and increase finds them. The reason this principle works so powerfully is that your words affect your focus, and your focus affects your feelings. What you talk about, you think about. What you think about, you move toward. If you constantly speak fear, you feel fear, and fear paralyzes action. If you constantly speak faith, you feel faith, and faith produces courage. Words are fuel. They feed either your doubt or your determination. The tongue doesn't just describe your world, it directs it. The key is to become intentional about every conversation you have, especially the ones you have with yourself. When you wake up, speak what you want to see. When you face a challenge, declare that you're equipped to overcome it. When things seem uncertain, affirm that everything is working in your favor. Speak abundance until your reality catches up to your confession. Your life will always rise to the level of your language, and the moment you change your words, you change your world. Action is the bridge between desire and destiny, and until you cross that bridge, all the dreams in your heart will remain ideas in your head. Desire alone doesn't produce results. You can wish, you can plan, you can visualize, but if you don't move, nothing changes. The difference between people who succeed and those who stay stuck isn't that one group wants it more. It's that one group acts on what they want while the other waits for the perfect moment. Action turns intentions into evidence. It transforms potential into progress. It takes what you've imagined and brings it into existence. Without action, belief is just a theory. You can have the right mindset, the right vision, even the right words, but if you don't execute, you'll stay in the same place. Most people are not failing because of a lack of desire. They're failing because of a lack of movement. They're waiting for everything to line up before they step out, not realizing that alignment comes from movement. The path doesn't appear until you start walking. The water doesn't part until you step into it. The doors don't open until you approach them. Life rewards momentum, not hesitation. The longer you wait to act, the more your fear grows roots. But when you move, fear starts to lose its grip. Every dream demands a corresponding action. If you say you want to be successful, what are you doing daily that proves it? If you say you want to be wealthy, what behaviors are you practicing that align with wealth? You can't speak abundance but act in scarcity. You can't declare faith and move in fear. The bridge of destiny is built plank by plank with the wood of daily discipline. Consistency is the currency of achievement. A little action every day compounds into massive results over time. The world doesn't pay you for what you know, it pays you for what you do with what you know. People often pray for miracles while ignoring the motion that activates them. Even divine blessings require human participation. When you take a step, unseen forces begin to align in your favor. Opportunities that were invisible become visible. People who can help you suddenly appear. Circumstances start to shift because movement sends a signal to the universe that you are serious about your purpose. You can't expect heaven to move if you're standing still. Faith without works is dead because faith is proven through forward motion. Action doesn't have to be perfect to be powerful. Too many people are paralyzed by the fear of making mistakes. They analyze, overthink, and hesitate until their window of opportunity closes. But clarity doesn't come before action, it comes through action. The moment you move, you start learning what works and what doesn't. Every step, even the wrong one, gives you data. You can adjust direction, but you can't adjust something that never starts moving. Progress requires motion, and perfection is the enemy of motion. You don't need a perfect plan, you need a persistent spirit. Action also requires courage because movement always exposes you to uncertainty. There will be moments when you feel unprepared, unqualified, and unsure, but courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to move in spite of it. The people who create extraordinary results aren't fearless. They're disciplined enough to act even when afraid. They understand that discomfort is the price of destiny. Every new level requires a new level of effort, and every leap forward starts with a single act of faith. When you act, you change your vibration. You stop being a dreamer and become a creator. Action communicates belief louder than words ever could. It tells your mind, your body, and your environment that you're serious about your goal. Once you start moving, life responds differently. The phone call gets returned. The opportunity shows up. The timing feels right because momentum has a magnetic quality. It attracts the next step as long as you keep stepping. You also have to remember that delayed action is often disguised disobedience to purpose. Every time you know what you're supposed to do and don't do it, you weaken your own confidence. You train yourself to doubt your own word. But when you act immediately on your decisions, you build trust with yourself. You become someone who follows through, and that self-trust becomes fuel for future success. Every small act of obedience multiplies into greater results because it compounds confidence. There's also a rhythm to action. Initiate, adjust, repeat. You don't have to figure out the entire journey before taking the first step. Just start, evaluate, and improve. Successful people don't wait for certainty. They create it by taking action and learning along the way. They fail fast, recover quickly, and move forward with the lessons. Motion creates momentum, and momentum creates mastery. The more you do, the better you become, and the better you become, the bigger your results. Action is the physical manifestation of belief. If you truly believe in your vision, your behavior will reflect it. You'll invest your time differently. You'll wake up earlier, focus harder, and persist longer. You'll stop asking for permission and start producing results. Every time you act in alignment with your purpose, you collapse the distance between who you are and who you're meant to be. The dream that once felt far away starts feeling inevitable because your effort is building a bridge strong enough to carry you there. Desire gives you direction, but action gives you evidence. Evidence builds conviction, and conviction fuels consistency. Once you start seeing even small results from your actions, your belief grows stronger, which drives you to act even more. It becomes a cycle of creation, a rhythm of faith and effort working together to shape your reality. That's why the people who move first often rise first. They don't wait for conditions to be perfect because they understand that progress is the condition that makes perfection possible. You don't get rich by chasing money. You get rich by becoming the kind of person money is attracted to. You don't find success, you become success. So today, reprogram your mind, rewrite your story, and renew your habits. You are the software. Wealth is the output. Now go upgrade your code and program yourself to be rich.